Hey, we're back. Another Pocket Change Market Report to kick off the weekend. Thank you guys for joining in. I'm your host, Sean, with the good old Blue Ridge Silverhound, and this is the report for July 24th, 2021. Boy, what a busy week for the middle of summer. A lot of people are taking advantage of not only the new coins with just absolutely most busted errors that I have seen in recent memory. Like, to see him come out of the woodwork and have the ability to talk about it is just absolutely insane. If you have the capability to go out and buy coin rolls from the bank, yeah, I would certainly do that. And as you guys have probably heard, the Fed Reserve Bank is injecting a whole bunch of 2021 Philadelphia and Denver minted half dollars out into circulation, and a few of those have been coming up with some pretty interesting strike throughs and die chips and all sorts of weird stuff going on. Yeah, it's the highest mintage collectively of both a P and D coin that is originally intended not to circulate at all. These were coins that you could only buy from the mint and obtain from there. Yeah, we're beginning to see those. Although I didn't talk about any of them today, but we are beginning to see some of those make their ways into the banking system. So yeah, definitely check those out. Very, very active report this week. Get this, I got 40 coins for you guys. So yeah, if it looks like a lot of you are probably on your lunch hour on the East Coast, go ahead and grab yourself a sandwich, sit down, an iced tea, scotch and bourbon, or whatever floats your boat, because this is a pretty insane report that I'm going to talk about today. Just to kind of recap things, these are all sales from within the last 24 to 48 hours. All coins are raw, no graded material in here. Of course, you guys know the drill. The reason why I'm kind of an antagonist of grading any of these coins, and it'll show. Sometimes the value just isn't there to spend the $20 to $30 to grade the singular coin, where you're going to end up with the same value of coin as if you didn't grade it. So there you go, in a nutshell. So no graded coins, raw, last day or two. Let's go ahead and get right into it, starting with the first coin. How about just a double clipped Lincoln wheat cent? This is a 1937. The photos are pretty dark. The coin in itself is pretty well circulated, but you can see one large curved clip here, and then just a little bit smaller, shallower clip right here. And of course, you have the requisite Blakesley effect areas opposite to those clipped parts. And this one right here, a best offer was indeed accepted. The original asking price was $20.35. So probably 10, 15 bucks for this coin, maybe a little bit more. Who knows? You guys can check it out on like Worth Point or 130 Point if you could find it. But not too bad. These show up in wheat cent bags more often than anywhere else. The next one that we have here, wow. Another coin with two clips. One very large curved clip, and this is on a much newer Jefferson nickel, probably from the late 80s going into the 90s, just based off of the overall like hair and strike and all that stuff. The steps even look good. I'm not going to say it's full steps because, in this particular case, it really doesn't matter. But yeah, you can see the just absolute giant clip right here, which is right good size for what it is, and a much shallower clip. This one right here, another best offer listing. Originally asking $38.61. Of course, that's with the few dollars of shipping that the seller had put on there. So, figure probably $20 to $30 for this one. Pretty nice. That's a large clip for this type of coin. All right, for those of you that like to hunt out currency, here's a good one here for you. Now, check out the serial numbers on this 2013 $1 Federal Reserve note. I mean, these were the pictures that were in the listing. Some people will call this a binary note because you have two digits repeated in some sort of way on the serial, but true binary is zeros and ones, but people have adopted binary as being any two numbers in a serial. I just call it a two-digit fancy serial number. So you got fives and sevens in here. Again, another best offer listing. Originally, the seller wanted $49 for it. And based off of condition alone, where the only thing worth noting, it looks like it's circulated a little bit. You can see kind of like a wrinkle spot here in the one on the reverse, and then you do have a fold right here, and a few other areas. So it's probably like an AU type of note. Yeah, probably $30 to $40 is what this one sold for, and yeah, that's the market for one of kind of like the entry level fancy serial numbers out there. So make sure you look for these. These sell for strong money. Now here's another piece of currency. I've talked about this one, I believe, in my last Pocket Change market report, but I'm going to revisit it because you guys need to know. And it's kind of ironic that a second one sold in consecutive weeks, because before last week, we haven't seen too many of these. There might have been a few that have been listed, but a lot of people do know what these are. Now, customarily, this would be a legal tender note. Okay, legal tender notes are also referred to as red seals. So the seals and serials would be red on these notes. However, this one looks like an orange-brown. This one is chemically altered, all right? According to someone that I met a long time ago, some of you may or may not know him. He goes by Frederick Bart. He's only one of the foremost experts in currency collecting, in general. That's errors and different types and large notes, small notes, you name it. And he had talked to me about this anomaly, and he knew exactly what it was. Because there is nothing at the BEP during this time in history where they would print anything with yellow or orange notes. The only thing that came close to it was the emergency notes. Was it North Africa ones and fives and things like that. Actually, they didn't make ones. They made fives, tens, and a few others, I believe. They had a yellow seal and a blue serial number. The Hawaii overprint emergency notes were brown. All right, so this one doesn't have the overprint on the back. It will say Hawaii, and you'll see it here momentarily. But somehow, some way, chemically altered. More likely, bleach is the catalyst for this one. You could easily leave a note in your pocket. It would get washed. The bleach would react to only that red ink on the note, and it would turn it a much lighter color. This one right here, unfortunately, realized $293.21. Not by a number of bids. Someone actually hit the buy it now listing or button for this note. Here's the back. No Hawaii overprint, so it's not anything like that. It's just unfortunate. Notes like this need to be known out there to a lot of people because this will trip up a lot of folks. These are not legitimately produced pieces of currency from our BEP. So keep that in mind. The next one that we have here is going to be the first along the line of a few coins that can be found in circulation. But wow, this is a brand new 2021. And for those of you west of the Mississippi, you're going to get a whole lot of love here. This is a Denver struck coin. Now take a look at the reverse of this one. It's struck through grease on about half of the coin here. So half of that die had grease on there. But take a look at that. That's pretty cool. I mean, I'm at a loss for words. These are out there currently. Because I would imagine as things begin to correct itself over time with the whole coin shortage and mass production and all this stuff, that they're going to slow their roll. And I mean the U.S. Mint. When they produce these coins, they're going to take a little bit more better care and quality through the quality control process a little bit better, circa 2018, where you didn't see just an incredible like conveyor belt worth of just errors popping out of the woodwork. And guess what? Treasure hunters are taking advantage of the opportunity, and they're making money hand over fist. And I would expect that you guys need to go and camp out in front of a bank, and if you could only get 10 rolls of brand new coin, I would do so. These are out there in quite a large numbers. But this one sold for $25. So imagine every single one that you find. Let's say out of a full box of $500 or $1,000 or whatever, you come across maybe 20 or 30 coins with strike-through errors and various other different types of anomalies. Man, you're going to be making a really good set of money. Lots of C notes are in your future if you do this. $25. Go for it. The next one that we have here, again, statehood quarter errors are pretty tough. Yeah, you don't see them that often, but we have a 2005 Denver California State Quarter. This one is broad struck. You can see it's an off-center broad strike right there. Might even be a partial tilted collar in there as well. Hard to say. But this is a coin. A best offer was accepted. The original asking price was $24.45. So somewhere probably between $10 and $20 is what this one sold for. Now, I've always said, if you were able to hunt through your silver, all right, this is a very common date, 1963, easy to find, and a lot of people see this as just plain old junk or scrap, even in this condition. But if you look at some of these 1960s 90% silver quarters, you might find something like this. Typically, this would be a quarter you'd look at it, you're like, yeah, it's worth about $8, you know, based off of today's silver prices and premiums and all that stuff. So it's a 1963 P. Washington quarter that is indeed a doubled die. This is DDO FS 101 in the Cherry Picker's Guide. You can just see like the double-tailed R is all you need to see, along with all the splits and separation lines all across the motto, "In God We Trust." There's a little bit of doubling also in the date. That's relatively minor. Your strongest doubling is going to be in the motto. So make sure you look out for these. There's even some really nice doubled dies on 1964 dated quarters as well. That's another opportunity for you guys to cherry pick. Now here's a little bit nicer, older, obsolete type coin right here. It's a 1942 Walking Liberty half dollar that has, I mean, if you could see it, a really small clip right there. Yeah, even this one makes the list. It's a nice enough shape that it's going to garner a premium anyways, with or without that error. But this one right here is just neat to find. And this one sold for $72.95. Maybe there was a slight premium with the clip, but when the coin gets to be in really nice shape, the premium is just there based off of the condition of the coin. Now here's a vastly overlooked coin. I'm sure a lot of people would overlook this in a heartbeat. It's the 1960 large date. It's a Denver struck Lincoln Memorial cent. And this one has a tiny little cracked skull right here. The seller did attempt to do a close-up. It wasn't that good, but on this one you can see it right there. So we have an interior die break is what these are referred to. You can find them in the skull area, and Lincoln's their notorious boy. You can find them in the hair. You can find big old pieces of scalp and skull just floating off the top of the coin or raised. Yeah, pretty crazy. But yes, there is a little bit of a market for out there for these. I call these novelty type errors. This one is a cracked skull in the community is what they call it. And it did sell for $17.99. Without that feature on there, more than likely this is a coin that's worth maybe $1, you know, because it's just a decent mid-state 60D. And $1 might be overshooting it by a good deal. It might even be worth about $0.25 in this condition. But people do need them for like date sets, that sort of thing. This one just so happens to have a neat anomaly on there, which is that cracked skull interior die break. The next one that we have here, of course, we're going to talk about a few off-center struck coins. They are constantly on eBay. People are making money. People are selling and trading and doing all that stuff. This is a 1998 full date off-center struck coin. This one is about 30% off-center. So, you know, same verse as the first. 1998 to 2001 are your most common modern era coins that are off-centered. So you see these particular dates more so than anything else. Off-center error enthusiasts will collect these by date. So that's where a lot of the just challenge and competition lies in this series. You can see that there's some fingerprints on the back that have kind of burned into the coin, or it's treated as like carbon spotting at this point. But let's see, this one right here sold for $14.70. So that's kind of like the low end of the curve for marginally mint state type coins like this one that are off center with a full date. Now here's a neat one I haven't talked about in quite a while. This is a 1979p Susan B. Anthony dollar. The coin is in pretty decent shape, and you better believe, ladies and gentlemen, that these are still out there. There is a bunch of Susan B. Anthony coins in the banks today, along with the other, presidential and Native American dollars. But this one right here is a good one. They are quite valuable at that. This is what they call the wide rim. The rim almost comes to and touches the date in a few areas right here. Some of you have probably looked for these and, have probably found one, but it turns out it's the regular narrow rim. The seller conveniently placed a regular one on the left, and then the wide rim that he sold on the right. You can see how close it is to touching the 9. This one you have a considerable gap from the 1, 9, and this other 9 to that octagonal rim area. It's not even octagonal. It's more than 8 sides on that inner rim, but you guys can see it. And this only affects the Philadelphia minted 1979, so you won't find this on any other date. But this example right here, ladies and gentlemen, sold for $29.46. Now here's just a fair-weathered, well-worn 1946 Lincoln wheat cent. This one has a little lamination right here that is still attached. All right, so this is what they call retained. It's right here. It's like a tongue coming out of his neck, or this bow tie right here is pretty neat. But this one right here in this condition sold for $16.50. So nice little surprise. It does have a few condition issues on the reverse, a few scratches, some digs right here about 5 o'clock position. But still, that's the market for these. Here's a pretty nice earlier dated Roosevelt dime that exhibits a curved clip. It's a 1967, so you don't see the state too often with this kind of error. So when one pops up, you expect the market to respond rather strongly for it. This one right here sold for $29.73. Again, make sure you look for stuff like this. Some people will see it as being just like a relatively minor error. They'll throw it back, not thinking otherwise. But, it's almost $30. To some people, that's like a tank of gas in their econo car. I mean, it makes a huge difference. Or, you could take your girlfriend out for dinner or something. It's a good coin to find, and you would not believe how many times these minor curved or straight clips have been tossed back. Don't toss them back anymore. We're back to Homestead. I love talking about these because they're undeniably common, and you very easily, if you guys are on the East Coast, make sure you're still looking out for these. We were only talking 6 years removed since it was released, and it was memorable for its myriad of doubled dies, many dozens of them. But this one right here, guys, has that pretty large leaky bucket die chip on the reverse. Again, still one of those type of coins like the floating roof and the God We Rust. These are kind of like fringe interest type of coins. They have a fan base all their own, and this one sold for $12.99. I mean, it's better than a sharp stick in the eye, if you tell me. Just make sure you pull these out. And there are even other variants. There's the snow on the roof die chips. There's the die chips in the corn stalks. They're all pretty valuable, so keep that in mind. So here's one of your more difficult dated off-center coins. We have a 1988. Of course, as you guys know, these things can get pretty gross because they are indeed still the copper-coated zinc era coins. You can just see all the exposed zinc. You have carbon spotting all over the place. I mean, this thing has issues. you know, all over, you know, leaps bounds of issues on this coin. This one right here is off center by, I would say, 55%, and this one sold for $21.62, which is a pretty solid sale. Here's another one right here. You can barely make out the date, which is all good gravy to me. It's a 1983 Lincoln Memorial that is off center. Let's see, this one by about 65%. Again, you just see all the exposed zinc on here as a result of it being struck off center. And this one sold for $20.98. Oops, sorry. A little freeze there. Okay, so here's one of my favorites for today. We have a 1940S Mercury dime this time around. It's in really nice shape, but this one is also hiding a little secret. I also happen to look, there's a little bit of a die crack that goes into the wing cap of Liberty right here, so that's pretty neat. But this one is a very notable RPM. You can see the secondary S is about northwest of the primary on this one. You can just see the curved tails popping out here on the left side of the mint mark. So that's the repunched mint mark. So yeah, this RPM, ladies and gentlemen, sold for $41.95. So I would say it's a pretty good sale. The Mercury dime variety folks pay a pretty decent premium on these coins. Another off-center nickel, not a cent this time. We have a 1989 P Jefferson. Pretty decent shape. Looks like it's circulated for a little bit. It probably confused a lot of people, you know, when they had it in their change. Didn't know what they have, but, you know, I'm sure this had passed through a few dozen hands before it was finally just saved for what it was. This one right here is off-center by about 35%. And through 13 bids, this one managed to fetch $19.39. So based on condition, that's where this one sold for. All right, so here's another one right here. This one is pretty well circulated, but I'm glad that someone had found this. It's a 1999 Lincoln Memorial. Of course, this is the ever so popular and famous wide AM reverse. You can see that gap there between the A and M. And the letter A, type style wise, is a little bit narrower than on the good old regular, just regular close AM type. Plus, you're also going to see a little bit of difference in the FG initials on the reverse. But look at it. I mean, it's got like corrosion. It's oxidized. It's circulated. I mean, it looks like a coin that obviously a lot of people would throw back, and people have. But through 7 bids, still a testament to its value, sold for $55.85. So even in this condition, ungraded, mind you, you don't need to grade this. If you did grade it, it might come back as a problem details coin because of the spot of corrosion on the reverse. So that's a pretty good sale for this coin. Just go ahead and flip it as is. So we have a few more of these brand new errors that are just floating around out there. We have a 2020 Philadelphia Roosevelt dime, as you can see. It looks off center, but what we have is a partial tilted collar on this one. You can see kind of like the rail or railroad style edge on here with a little bit of the reading showing. But yeah, this is a pretty phenomenal error. So I don't know why more people aren't looking for these, but I might be wrong. I think a good share of people are finding these. We just need more in the system, because if they're selling for as strongly as this dime is, then it's all hands on deck. To give you an idea, 16 collective bids brought this one up to $32.30. That's a wild sale. And this one right here is no slouch either. A 2020 Philadelphia Lincoln Shield cent. This one is not only a little bit off center, but it's also a partial collar as well. You can see just kind of like the indentation of a rail here around the edge. It does have kind of like the earlier progression of a die chip right here above the shield, which is where you commonly see that. This one is quite a strong seller as well. Through 13 bids, this one sold for $25.80. Boom. That's what I'm talking about. So if you did find the dime and the penny in one whole search, that's over $60 in sale. That's crazy. Congrats to both of those sellers. Here's a 1938 D. Of course, they're all Denvers for 1938. This is the transitional year in which the Buffaloes went bye-bye and the Jeffersons said, hello, I'm here. But this one right here, again, very commonly hoarded in higher grades. This one, no doubt about it as well. And this one just so happens to be a nice Repunched mint mark. This is a very common D over D. And I mean common, as in they are dirt common. I probably have maybe 30 of this one particular RPM. Now, yeah, if the condition's nice enough, you could send them off to NGC or PCGS or even Annex. You know, you could do that. This one right here obviously sold raw, and the price is exactly what you would expect. Two bids on this one brought it up to $42.95, which is a strong amount of money. It's kind of hard to say if the toning or whatever's going on here is original to the coin. All right, and you know, we talked about that wide rim 79p, but we also have another one that sold within the last 24 hours. Can't even believe that, you know, because usually I would talk about these maybe twice a year. That's how infrequent they pop up on auction. But this one right here, forgot to say, these are referred to in the Cherry Picker's Guide as FS301. But what makes this one a cut above the other one that we saw earlier in the video is this one has a cud right here on the rim, which gives it just that extra coolness factor. You know, like you just want to just slather Cool Whip all over it and just eat it up as it is. Yeah, don't really do that. It won't benefit. It'll actually hurt the coin. But this one, $103.80. The condition, I would say, is a little bit better than the previous coin, but with the cud and the wide rim, you put it all together, it's lights out. Beautiful, beautiful sale. Now, we only have one image here of this $1 bill, but it's a 1993 Fed Reserve note, and as you can see, the third print serial numbers is tilted. So the sheet was obviously tilted just a hair. The green seal is like way down below the 1, which is kind of a little bit out of whack of where it normally is, along with these the 6s, which are part of that third print plate. But yeah, take a look for things like this. I mean, at first glance, they look innocent enough that you would just spend them. But in this particular case, this is a worthwhile find. As a matter of fact, the seller, through 44 bids, pulled in $54.19. I mean, that's a heck of a flip, if I say so. All right, so we got a 2000 Lincoln Memorial. This one is just a simple broad stroke error, but man, it's a very nice centered broad strike example. The condition is nice enough that collectors of this type of thing would scoop this up. Again, these were struck with the absence of a collar to keep it in the striking chamber, so that metal flow has to go somewhere. In this particular case, this one right here was just hammered right in the center. The broad strike itself is probably as big as a standard Jefferson nickel, which is pretty good size. This one sold for $44, so that's a pretty good sale there. Another off-center struck 1995, a little bit different date, all right? It's a little bit tougher. It's not a 98 or above, but this one right here is off-center by about 55%, I would say, give or take. And it is circulated, as you can see. You know, it's not exactly what I would consider to be like even a mid-state 61. It looks like it's been around the block a little bit. 5 total bids brought this one to $18.50. So we did have a lot of 5 of these Wyoming statehood quarters. These are Philadelphia's 2007s, and each one of them has that Starburst strikethrough. So there was just a light skim of grease on the dies when each of these were produced. And these are actually quite common. You see them on not only this, you even find them on, the Acadia ATB quarters. We found tons of them. But these are the Wyomings right here. 5 of them, close up. You know, they even have the Starburst pattern on the obverse of each one of the coins as well. I would say these are relatively minor, but these coins are really nice shape. These were saved probably when they were first released, probably all in the same roll. All 5 sold for $23.98. We do have a few listings from one of the usual strong sellers on eBay. It goes by the name Jim Macker, Jimmacr, who sells some of the most amazing varieties and errors on eBay today. So if you guys are looking for like nice pieces, stuff that you don't normally see, I would certainly visit his eBay store. And great feedback. He has over 15,000 feedback. But this is a 1951D. And it is also the over mint mark. This is the D over S, also known as OMM number 2. And it is also FS 512 in the Cherry Picker's Guide. So you can see the bottom curl of the S, and it goes through like this, or somewhere like this, and then this is like the top curl of the S right there. So that's what that one looks like. This one sold for $47.95. Please do note there are a few carbon spots, water spots on the obverse of the coin. And of course, you can't have one without the other. Also from Jim, this is a 1952 D over S Lincoln Wheat Cent, another favorite of mine. I own a few of these myself. Not quite in this condition, but this is what this one looks like. You can see the bottom serif and curl of the S right here on this. Is what this one looks like. This is OMM number 1. It's FS 511 this time in the Cherry Picker's Guide. And this one sold for $52.95. We got a C note in the house. We don't talk about C notes that often, but I figure this one is worth the mention because it's got a cutting error. You can just see a little bit of a sliver of the next note there. The note is pretty well circulated. This is a later modern 1996 Big Head Ben Franklin, although it's not the colorized version. This is the first out-of-the-gate version of the new design that we all knew back in the mid-90s was coming. Yeah, so it's miscut, no doubt about it. You can see it even on the reverse. You don't see the next note, though, on here because the second print on the reverse is a lot more narrower than the front print. This one sold, let's see, best offer was accepted. The original asking price was $398. I would imagine it probably sold for double face, so like $200. If you're curious enough, you can check this out on those websites. All right, so another semi-newer coin right here, 2017 Philadelphia, and we've been seeing some of these on newer Roosevelt dimes too. But this has clash dies, so you can see just some of those clash areas on the obverse here in front of Roosevelt's face. You can see the olive leaf right here under his ear, along with a few other areas. And then on the reverse, you can see the clashing of Roosevelt's profile, or his head, all the way around the thing. Pretty nice, pretty strong. Another best offer listing, the original asking price was $34.95. It probably sold for around $25, right around there. But this is pretty nice. Make sure you're looking out for these as well. Well, another Wisconsin low leaf has come up to auction and it's sold. Now, as you guys know, these coins were released in the southern part of the U.S. back in 2004. Okay, the common area was Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas. But these have circulated pretty nicely, and as a matter of fact, the seller is located in Ohio. So I'm not going to say that this person had found this in Ohio, but if he did, he or she, I wouldn't be surprised by it. Close-up of the low leaf that's not even supposed to be there on this one is right there. As you can see, nice circulated example, 29 bids. Brought this one up to $66.06, which is actually not bad considering its condition state. Now, there are a few really, really tough dates of off-center struck Lincolns. This is the first one. Actually, both of them are the same date. I can't believe the same seller had them. But it's a 1963D. This particular one is off center by about 65%. And it's a nice, decent red-brown, low mid-state, maybe a 61. Maybe it's circulated a little bit, I'm not sure. But this one sold for $29. It's things like this that most people definitely overlook. But like I've mentioned before, yeah, they might have a low value, but if you can imagine selling 10, 20 of these a month at $5 a pop, you're golden. These are what I like to call supplemental small errors and varieties. This one has misaligned dies. Okay, the front die is slightly misaligned. It's got this chunkier rim. It's nothing really to scream yay about because it's not cutting off any of the devices. Okay, that's what people like to see with mad coins. The reverse is completely centered, and that's why it's a misaligned die. This one sold for $5.99. I mean, need I say more? In addition, it's a large date bronze. All right. So that same seller had another 63D. This one is about 65% off center, real close to the other example. Through 4 bids, this one sold for $24.60. I think there's a few scratches here in this area and a little bit of a rim ding. So last week we talked about the same anomaly on a much newer 2020p Jefferson nickel. Forget about Liberty. Liberty's on every coin supposedly, U.S. coin that is. But this one has that little beehive die chip. This is a really nice sized one right here, and it looks like it's circulated a little bit. The actual full size obverse and reverse photos were way out of focus. But for whatever strange reason, the seller had just hit it out of the park with the close-ups. And it's also worth mentioning there's a few die chips in Liberty as well. So maybe Liberty should be talked about in this particular instance. This one sold for $7.45. If you're able to find one in a BU roll, for instance, and you found one, more likely there's going to be others. So just imagine if you sold each one for $5, you know? And if you opened up a whole box and you found like a progression worth, maybe like 5-6 coins of that same beehive die chip, it could get pretty nasty as far as profits. Now this is cool. 1985 $1 Federal Reserve note with a gutter fold right down smack dab in the middle. That's caused by a wrinkle in the paper, the sheet, before it was printed. So it prints over the wrinkle and it leaves a gutter of non-printed area. You even see it on the back as well. This one right here is sold for $31.45. It's in pretty decent shape. Talk about your off-center coin of the week. A 1974D Roosevelt dime that is 95% off-center, but you have the full freaking date right on the coin. I mean, how does that work? It's like 1 in 1,000 odds. It's that rare, and it would explain why it sold for the amount of money it did. $108.98 is the realized price for this one. This thing is just filthy, and we're just gonna keep going. We got 2 coins left. We do have a lot of 3 Roosevelt dimes. These are all errors, either partial tilted collars or broad strikes in this particular instance. So you have an 04D, an 05 Philadelphia, and an 06 Philadelphia. So it doesn't matter what mint you're searching for. If you're on the West Coast, if you're on the East Coast, bam, look out for them. But these are quite nice. The 3 coins collectively, and there's a reverse, I'd say this one looks the best of the 3. Altogether, sold for $39. You guys ready for this last coin? Because I love this coin. I found a few of them in my time. I am here on the West Coast, so these are a little bit more accessible to me. 1970D Washington Quarter. There you go. Okay, you're probably like, oh, what's going on with this? It just looks like a really beat up circulated quarter. Well, you guys have heard me talk about this coin. See how weakly struck it is on both sides. You can see it really well here on the date. in the motto, in Liberty, and also on the reverse on the outside periphery of the coin. No, this is not a die adjustment strike. No, this is not struck through grease. This was actually struck on what we call dime stock thickness planchets, which whoever produced the quarter planchets inadvertently used the dime thickness stock, or the so when these are struck on dime thickness quarter sized blanks, obviously the mid presses are calibrated to strike on the exact thickness of an actual regular quarter thickness stock and not dime stock. So you're going to get some general weakness around the coin. But this is, ladies and gentlemen, quite the valuable error. This one sold for $64.95. Even in this condition, where you have a few little rim bumps and it's very well circulated. Again, you can just imagine how many people have tossed this back. I probably have tossed it back at one point in my life, and I'll never make that mistake again. So make sure you look out for this. This is the big one for the week that needs more attention than what it already has. Well, that's going to go ahead and do it. 40 coins in, 40 out. All right. And, oh man, what a fun ride this week. Best of luck in all of your hunting endeavors on this one. Lots to look for. The brand new 2020 and 21 errors are in full force. They are out there for the taking. By the way, make sure you look out or check out my 2019-2020 West Point quarter video I put out a few days ago. The prices are just going absolutely bonkers. We've had 2 full rolls of Weir Farm par quarters that have sold for between $400 to $500. I think it might have been as a result of the video I did the other day, because I was legit trying to buy both rolls for around $400 and I got shut out huge. So the market exploding for some of the V75 Privy and even for the American Memorial. Incredible. So there's a lot to look for out there. Lots of valuable coins in circulation where you don't necessarily need a 72 double die obverse or a 69S DDO or the silver pieces coming out of the $50 boxes. There's a ton of other stuff, ladies and gentlemen, to look out for that are selling for between 20 and 50 bucks. Like, I'm snapping my fingers. They're like coming out of the woodwork and people are selling them like they're going out of style. But guess what? Every single one of them has a strong set of buyers, and they are dumping money into these. That's going to do it. I'm your host, Sean, with BlueRidgeSilverhound. Good luck in your hunt today and for the upcoming week. Don't forget to like, share, or subscribe if you enjoyed today's comments or video. Don't forget to hit that bell for instant notifications. And as always, Coinaholics, we are discovering together, and I hope to hear from your success stories this coming week. You guys take care, and I'll see you on the next video.